everybody. I hope you've all had an amazing break and New Year. I've come to do a really quick video today. This wasn't a scheduled one or a planned one. It's going to be a very, very simple putting together a journal stroke notebook, which is what I'm doing. I had a little chat with my lovely niece Eliza. Hi Eliza, this morning. She lives in Cyprus and she has started to make junk journals, and she asked me a couple of questions, so I said I'd do a little video to help her out, and it might help out some people who are new to making journals. It's just a couple of little tips and tricks, really. Quite simple. And because I'm making this video for Eliza, I'm going to make this little notebook for Layla, who is Eliza's sister. Eliza loves junk journals. Layla loves to draw and write, so taking a bit of a risk because the cat's awake. This one we're going to do in a different way again. So this is just a little book, and it's big enough to make a little notebook from. Now, because I wanted to get a lot of pages in here, I haven't used tea stained paper. This is the old kind of fashion printer paper. This is the ends that have come off it. And I've used this because, like I said, Layla likes to draw and to write, so she can make quite a lot of notes in here with a pencil. And this paper would be great for that. So there's a lot of pages, even though it's quite thin, because it is a little book. So let's get started. Oh, and I have a new camera set up, so please let me know what you think of the quality. If it's not as good, then I'll go back to the old system, but this is a webcam, so we'll see how it goes. So what I've done is I've obviously gutted the book, and I've just tidied up the edges without cutting through the spine, so you know the book is still whole. I've just cut a piece of fabric I haven't done a very good job of cutting this out, but it's just enough to cover, you know, 1 centimetre or so either side of the spine and the spine area. So what I'm going to do is very, very simply, I'm going to grab my Fabri-Tac, and I have got another video on this with probably a little bit more detail in. This is just a very, very basic, quick way, and I'm just going to pop some Fabri-Tac. You don't have to use Fabri-Tac, other glue will work, and I'm going to just come a little way out either side. I'm probably a bit overcautious with how much glue I use. Okay, now I'm going to pop this strip in there. Give it a really good push down into all those creases. If you've got one, you can use a bone folder. If not, you can use, this is probably not the best scissors, but you can use the handle of scissors if you don't have a bone folder. I mean, look at the state of mine. I do have others. This is just the one that I grabbed. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that's really well glued in there. Now, obviously, I am going to have some gaps, so I'm just going to fill these in. My Fabri-Tac. I'm having that, haven't done a video kind of feeling for a long time. It's all a bit scary again if you haven't done it for a while. I do have lots planned. Now the break is over. I have this really bad habit of wiping dry glue onto the back of my hand, so I apologise. Okay, so as you can tell, I didn't worry too much about the ends because I'm going to cut those off at the end, like now. So I'm just going to use my scissors, turn the book over, and just cut that excess piece off. Now, if you're using a kind of, this is quite heavy cotton, but you can use like a calico or any type of cotton, or cheesecloth is a little bit thin to do this with, but sometimes you can put a layer of cheesecloth under this fabric and then you get your cheesecloth kind of sticking at the end. That's quite nice. Okay, so we have our spine looking a little bit better on the inside. You can use paper for this, but paper doesn't hold up as well to the whole opening and closing of your book, so fabric is definitely better. Okay, so this is a very, very small spine, and I'm going to measure it like this. It is literally only, it's a centimetre. Okay, and we've got enough room for one signature in here. Now, what I do, if I'm using a book, a gutted book, I keep one of the fly pages or a page from the book, because I know that is the perfect height to make my template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half. Okay, and I'm going to get my ruler and line that up. And this is about 19.5 centimetres. Now, to make it easy on myself, what I do is I move it slightly. So I've now got a couple of millimetres here and a couple of millimetres here. And I know 10 is now pretty much the middle. Now, let me just grab my pencil. Oh, AWOL. My pencil's gone AWOL, so I'm going to use a pen. I'm finding the centre. You can also, I mean, actually, let's do it the easier way. Just fold that in half. Now, this is a single signature, so this is not so complicated. So I've got my centre there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in 2 centimetres from the end and put a hole. And I'm going to come in 2 centimetres from the other side and I'm going to put a hole. Now, obviously, at the moment, they're just pen dots, but they will be holes. So that is the 3 places that I'm going to poke a hole to make my stitches. So the first thing I'm going to do, and there are all sorts of ways you can do this. If I can just grab, I've got these giant paper clips. So these were gifted to me and I absolutely love them. I can't tell you how many times I've used these. So I'm going to just paper clip these in place. So I've got a really nice kind of tight corner, oh, I can't talk now. The crease is nice and tight. So when I put my holes in, they're going to go through the pages nicely. So I'm using, this is an awl. This is called a pokey tool, and it's designed to poke bits out of die cuts. But it's perfect. I've used this like forever. I do have an awl that I got from a DIY store, which does just as well. And in actual fact, if you want a larger hole, it tapers to quite a wide, you can get quite a wide hole because it's tapered quite a lot. I really am struggling. I really need to get back into making videos. Now, very, very carefully, Eliza, please get your mum or dad to do this bit. You poke your hole. And you could use a large dictionary, which I often do, to do this. If I'm doing multiple signatures. I am doing a very, very poor job of this video. It will teach me for being away for so long. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide out this template, because now we need to put matching holes in our cover. Now this is quite straightforward because it's only a single signature, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the outside and I'm just going to try and get halfway across that spine, because we want our, so I'm just going to put a little dot where those holes line up. or a line actually. I might put a line, that might be easier. Okay, so I can see those. I've got my lines. So what I'm going to do is with my awl, I'm just going to find the middle. And I always find if you come from outside in, you get a much neater outside edge. But you can see the hole has still come through the inside. I do seem to be having a lot of trouble talking and explaining things. There we go. I think it happens to everybody. And if I had another small enough cover, I would probably have started this video again. Okay, so these holes will now line up with the holes we have in our signature. Okay, so the next part is sewing it in. Now I'm going to do a very simple stitching on here. So if I can pick my needle up, I'm going to use white, and I'm just going to literally do double the length of my cover. Cut that. And I'm going to thread my needle. I have lots of videos as well on sewing in signatures, which are probably much more. I think that's. Oh look, I've just ripped that. Maybe these big paper clips are not suitable for this really thin paper. Let's just take that middle. Take that page out. There we go. That solved that problem. So I'm going to start by taking my signature and going through the middle. And then I'm going to go through the middle hole in my cover. Like so. It's a little bit tough, so this is where you could push your awl in a little bit further to get, if you wanted to get a much larger hole. So now I'm coming to the outside and I'm going to go through the cover. And what I do is I pull it all the way through the cover first, and then I go through the pages in my signature. A little bit longer. Okay, just going to pull that through a little bit. Okay, now to keep this simple, I'm going all the way down to the bottom. I'm coming through, and then I'm going through that bottom hole in my cover. Okay, and now I'm going to go back through the middle hole in the cover, and I'm going to try my hardest not to catch this thread, because if you go through the thread, it makes it quite difficult to tighten it. Have I left myself enough cotton? Okay, so I'm using just a wax thread for this. Embroidery floss does work perfectly well. So does baker's twine. A lot of people use baker's twine. So now I'm going to go through that hole in my signature. But what I'm going to do is when it comes through, I don't want to catch that thread. Okay, when I come through, if you can see, this piece of cotton is this side. So I want my needle to come up the other side. So this middle thread, this thread is in the middle. There we go. Now I take my needle out. So you can see I've got a piece of cotton either side of this middle thread. Now, because this paper is really thin, I'm going to have to be really careful that I don't rip it and pull this too tight. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to tighten my cottons by just following the way the thread goes through. And now that is sewn in. Just going to tie that in a double knot. And I'm going to use my bone folder to flatten that wax thread. Cut off these little pieces, because this is a notebook. We're not going to have any dangles or anything hanging from it. You can leave these longer and put beads on. And I'm just going to fold that. And there we have our bound notebook. And as you can see, these stitches are actually quite straight because I used the outside spine to put the holes in rather than the inside. Because on the inside, if you have a look at this one, on the inside you've got this kind of lip either side where you've got the ridge in the spine, so it's much easier. I always find it much easier to use these edges on the outside of the spine to do that. So we've got the basis of this notebook. Now, one of the other questions Eliza asked me is, if you've got a horrible picture on the front of the book, what do you do with it? So, like I said, you could paint it. And this is an acrylic paint, Eliza, and I know Layla has some of that. Or you could stick a piece of scrapbooking paper on it. And I've got a piece of scrapbooking paper here, but I'm not going to cover the outside with the scrapbooking paper. But as you can see, that would look quite nice, wouldn't it? Because it's blue and it matches nicely. So what I'm going to do is I've cut a couple of pieces of beautiful fabric that I got in some Happy Mail. And I'm going to cover this with fabric. So what I did was I cut the fabric to the size of the cover up to this little ridge in the spine. So I measured from that ridge to the edge and the top and bottom, and I cut that fabric that size. But then what I did is I pulled some of the threads out to give that a kind of a frayed look. So that looks quite nice. So I did that. What you could do is cut your scrapbooking paper in exactly the same way. Now, because I did a massive clean-up before the Christmas break, I actually threw away all my plastic pots. Let me just grab my pliers. No pliers. Right, I don't like these tops, so I'm going to cut the top of this one off. It's quite difficult to get glue out of these bottles. Now, I'm using a fabric glue, but if you're using a lightweight fabric, PVA is going to work just as well. Okay, so I'm going to open up my book. I'm going to decide which bit goes on the back and which piece goes on the front. I think we're going to have this piece on the front with a butterfly. So, I don't know what my cat is doing. I'm just going to cover this with my glue. I apologise for those of you that, I mean, obviously you don't have to watch. This is very basic and for beginners. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because I want that frayed fabric to kind of, you know, age a bit. Oh, I say as I go right to the edge. My cat thinks she wants her second breakfast. Meow. She hasn't been sitting on my desk quite as much as she used to, so I'm hoping she's going to give me plenty of space. Okay, so now I'm going to line this up. And then again, use my bone folder to just kind of push that down. Make sure that's, you know, wipe off any glue that seeps out. And we're going to do the same to the back. I'm sorry if you can hear her. I don't know what she's doing. She's got a few new tricks. Climbing the curtains and sitting on the curtain track is her favourite thing at the minute. And terrorising the fish. I was, before Christmas I started getting pages ready to make a children's notebook, a children's journal, and she has, I'm now half the amount of pages available because she's eaten them, literally eaten them and spat out all the pieces. Okay, so that's going to be our back. Okay, now I'm going to cover this spine on the outside to cover up the stitches. It looks quite pretty, doesn't it? I haven't quite got that. It's not very straight, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off those few little bits there. Okay, so here we go. That's the front and that's the back. And now the next question Eliza had was, what do you do with these bits? And this is where I'm just going to put this glue out of the way and hope the cat does not touch it. This is where our, this is where our scrapbook paper comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remeasure. I want this paper to come just a little bit before the crease starts, and that's about 10 centimetres, but I'm going to come in 2 millimetres from that, so I'm going to do 9.8, and I'm going to do, this is 20 centimetres, so I'm going to do like 2 shy of 20 centimetres, and I need 2 pieces. So you can use a ruler and scissors. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's going to take a bit of getting used to this new. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the height. So the height of the book, which was about 20 centimetres, just short. So I'm going to cut that. Now, this is some beautiful scrap paper I got from Liza's craft shop. So thank you for this, Liza. It's amazing. Liza's shop is linked on my website. And what was it? What memory like a sieve? It was 10. So just shy of 10, I'm going to cut this. Okay. Try not to hit the camera as I put that down. So we've now got our 2 pieces of scrapbook paper. And these are going to cover up that fabric edge. And we're going to put those in here. Now for this, again, I'm using my Fabri-Tac, but you can use any glue. I've seen lots and lots of crafters use PVA and things like that, so you know, I do know other glues do work. It probably would have been a good idea. This would have made these little thin books do make absolutely lovely little notebooks, so it probably would have been a good idea to do this before Christmas, but you know, I didn't know Eliza needed to know it then, so I'm going to pop that in, and I'm using, you know, the existing end papers to line that up. And don't worry, Eliza, I will be making you a book too, and we're going to make a book together, and possibly when Eliza comes over in February, might make a video together. Okay, like I did with Lizzie. So that'd be fun. Okay. Make sure I give this a good covering now. I don't go completely to the edge because the glue will seep, obviously, once you push it down. Okay. There we go. So we've got, like I said, there are quite a lot of pages in here. They're just very, very thin pages. Got a nice neat spine, and we have our decorated covers on the front and the back. So I'm just going to have a quick look in my drawer and see what pretty laces I have to cover that spine. These are a few that I purchased just before Christmas. Oh no, the cat's coming. Ow, ow. That one's not too bad. I think this one might be better. I think it might be. Ah. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, okay, I think we're going to go for this one. I mean, it doesn't completely cover all of those words, but it covers it enough, and it's going to be quite pretty. Let me just try this last one just to be sure. That one, you can see, even though the trim is a lot wider, you can see a lot more of the. So I'm just going. You can do this with fabric too. You don't have to do this with lace or a trim. Fabric works just as well. Okay, so how I do this is I start with this part of the spine. So I'm going to, and what you could always do actually, oh, that's a thought, let's have a little look, just to make this. Just think, do I want that? No, I think I'm just going to go lace. So I'm just going to put glue first on the spine. And I'm making sure I kind of move that cotton over so I get it underneath, because that will then actually hold the binding in place too. And take my lace. I'm doing this at a funny angle because of the camera, and I'm going to place that down the centre of the spine. Okay, now I'm not worried about having a little bit flapping, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that back and run just a couple of beads of glue I don't want to put too much glue here because it will show through the lace. Do that side. And often these crochet trims are not really, they're not square, they're not perfect. And it doesn't take a lot of Fabri-Tac to hold a trim like this in place. Okay, that's going to take a minute to dry, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this over and cut the extra off. A second. So Eliza, I hope this was helpful, and anyone else who is new. And Layla, I hope you like your little notebook. So very easy, very quick. I'll just pop a little bit of glue in this corner. Just hold that little extra bit down there. There we go. So we have a very simple, easy notebook, which you could just as easily put junk journal pages in there. Like I said, I hope it was helpful, and I will be back with lots more things that I want to do. Have a great day, and please do let me know what you think about the camera. The only thing with this is you do actually have to have your mouse ready to stop when it's taken a bit of getting used to, and you can't zoom in and out. So I have a little suspension system going on up here. So I am going to do a little bit more to this notebook, but that's it for the little tutorial. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you all soon. Bye.